your head.
So I'm not originally from the Windsor area. I grew up around Alliston, Ontario, where I started playing like football in high school, 16 years old, whatever, and I got introduced to rugby around 18, and I stopped playing football. Loved the game so much. So that was around 86, and I played through my university with a club team around Alliston. I moved closer to Toronto area. I played with the York Yeomen when I was 23 to 26, that area. Really enjoyed playing with that group. They were pretty class act, and I really got a love for the sport. And 96, I came down to Windsor, met a girl, and we were on Riverside Drive, and we were, it was winter time, and there was a bunch of guys getting out of a school bus and jumping into the water, and there was a polar bear dip.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, watching these guys, they go in, you know, they come back and almost hypothermia, and then they all went back in the water again. And I go, I bet you they're rugby players. And most of them aren't playing anymore, you know, myself included, but I figured, yeah, I could probably move here. I fit right in with these guys. And that was in 96. I moved to Windsor, joined the Rogues, and yeah, I mean, they're a great group of guys. I can't say enough about them. We've had so many experiences, so many tours. They're part of my family, you know, and sorry, been through a lot with them. And, you know, we have this great clubhouse now, and it's amazing how this sport pulls us all together. And I know anytime I have, you know, any issues, whatever, these guys will be around. And yeah, I have a lot to thank for the club, and I love the sport of rugby.
It was cold that day, Pete. I gotta tell you, George knows too.
It
was fucking cold.
Any fat you had on your body, it turned like a bright
The fifth
orange.
trip into the water, the fifth trip in was really cold. And
Yeah,
then
it
when
was
we kind of
tough to
shanked it
watch.
out into the current and we had to swim after the ball, that was bad.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
I'm going to start by saying I'm glad I wasn't the first one to get emotional. I'm glad Pete went before I did. I too started at 17, 1989. It was funny, in high school I was captain of the football team. We had one of this little skateboarding punk rock kid come up to me after and say, listen, we're going to start a rugby team. I want you to get involved. And I'm like, rugby, what's that? So we had a little meeting. I brought the football team out, and I made a deal with the guys. So listen, you play 1 year of football, or you play 1 year of football, yeah, and I'll play 1 year of rugby, and let's see how it works out. So going back now, how many years? I'm still involved with rugby. He played his 1 year of football. He's a man of his word. We're actually going to the World Cup this year. Mark Murphy out of London, fantastic guy. But it just shows the relationships that we have. How many years later that we're still involved. Moved to Windsor in 1992, same thing, met a girl, here ever since, but started with the Borders, and it was kind of a weird fit. I came out to the Borders and I said, what position do you play? I said, well, number 8. Well, we have a number 8. Okay, well, I'll play second row. Well, we have a second row. I was like, okay, well, I kicked with my club in London, and said, oh, you can kick? You'll be our fullback. And I became a 250-pound fullback at the time, which still makes me laugh.
It's about 80 pounds ago.
It was a long time ago, yes. So played with the Borders until they folded. When they folded, I went over and played in Detroit, and played with Detroit for a few years before making my way back to Windsor, which started the whole United program. And so many guys can attest to the relationship we have with Detroit, and the amount of players that we're able to play on both sides of the border and get a full season out of rugby, almost 11 months most years, for many years.
Any favorite memories, Chris? Favorite players?
Pete talked about the relationships we have, and I talk about that all the time. Rugby is a family. I have so many people I can count on. I can call at any time of the night to help me out. Hopefully not with bail, but it could happen.
If necessary.
Favorite moments, I've been so fortunate. I've traveled all over the world playing, but also watching rugby, the relationships we've built, championships we've won, tournaments we've been to. There's so many stories we could go into, and Not enough time on this video, but I'm sure in the 60th, a lot of these stories will come out.
Well, I think Chris Patton will always be associated with the Shockers tour in '05. I mean, that was
So selfishly, that was me knowing I couldn't play full time anymore, and decided I'd throw myself a going away party. Put a select side together. We went down to Savannah, Georgia. We won all of our games. I went to the Air Force. We played in the championship.
yeah.
Played the U.S. Air Force in the championship game, and it was just a fantastic. We'll call it a weekend. It felt like 10 days, but
It was hilarious. They were so serious, and they were drinking water and silly things on the sideline. We come all disheveled and our,
we had numbers on our letters on our backs. We spelled
Yeah.
"I'm hungover" when they
Yeah.
did the boot check.
2 pink lines, 1 brown. I don't know what that represents.
2 in the pink.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how those serious military types probably felt about getting their asses handed to them by a bunch of
I
guys
think
in
the
pink
best
shirts.
part was watching the Army and the Navy on the sidelines cheering for the guys wearing pink to beat the Air Force. That was my favorite part of the whole week.
And that's rugby, and that's why we play. It's for those memories and the connections that we have with the other people. Chris, Pete, thank you so much for sharing all that.